Chapter 11. No Peace in Keeping Silent. Rachel Carson was a shy little girl who played mostly by herself. No other children lived near the farm in Pennsylvania when she grew up. TV and computers had not been invented when she was born in 1907, but Rachel was never bored. She loved wandering with her dog through the woods and streams on the farm, discovering snakes and birds, insects and wild animals. Sometimes, she found fossils of fish and seashells in the cliffs behind the farm, and tried to imagine the ancient sea that once covered the land. When Rachel grew up, she was determined to go to college, even though most women at that time did not do that. Her parents were poor, but they sold some family farmland so that she could go. At first, the other students thought Rachel was snobbish because she kept to herself. But then they realized she was just shy and could be a good friend. When Rachel decided she wanted to be a scientist, her friends at school said, "You can't. Only a man can be a scientist." Even the president of her college thought that women did not have the strength and brains to be scientists. That was how most people thought in those days. But Rachel took a test to work as a marine biologist and writer for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It had never hired a woman before. She scored higher than any of the men taking the test and got the job. She was so good at writing about fish that her boss encouraged her to write books. She wrote Under the Sea Wind 1941, The Sea Around Us 1951, and The Edge of the Sea 1955. In her books, she wrote how everything in the oceans and on Earth is connected to everything else and to the environment. It was a new way to think about the world. Now she was a famous author, so she had to give speeches and talk to newspaper reporters. She did not like that. She was still shy. At first, when people read her book, many thought that a man must be the real author. They did not think a woman could know so much about science. They were surprised to see the author was so small, slender, well-dressed woman with chestnut hair and blue-green eyes. One day a woman wrote a letter to Rachel saying that an airplane had sprayed the bug poison, DDT, over her yard to kill insects. Afterwards, she found dead robins on her lawn, their claws drawn up to their breasts in agony. The DDT had killed them. "Can't you do something to stop the spraying?" she wrote. Rachel was already alarmed at the huge amounts of chemicals that were being sprayed onto the earth. New poisons had been invented for chemical warfare during the Second World War, and it turned out that some of the chemicals could kill weeds, bugs, and rodents. So now people sprayed them on lawns, gardens, farms, forests, schoolyards, parks, and golf courses. They didn't realize that the poisons were polluting the soil, seeping into drinking water, running off the land into oceans, and killing fish and wildlife. As Rachel read the letter about the poisoned robins, she knew what she must do. She would write a book so full of facts that people would understand what was happening. They would demand changes. Her best friend, Dorothy, warned her. "The companies that make insecticides will hate you if you write this book. They are rich and powerful. They'll do anything to turn people against you." "I understand that, Dorothy," replied Rachel, "and I will be expecting it. But knowing what I do, there would be no peace for me if I kept silent. I could never again listen happily to a thrush song." She named her book Silent Spring, because there would be no bird songs if all the birds were killed by insect poisons. There will be no people left to hear them either, because those chemicals could end all life on Earth. As she worked on Silent Spring, she learned that she had cancer and it could not be cured. She was in pain and sometimes could hardly walk. Now, she raced against time to finish her book. Here are some things that Rachel wrote about in Silent Spring. The bald eagle, the symbol of the United States, was becoming extinct because DDT prevented the eagle's eggs from hatching. A chemical that was sprayed over many acres in Illinois to kill Japanese beetles had also killed thousands of squirrels, rabbits, muskrats, birds, and cats. Poisons actually make insects even harder to kill because the ones who survive then mate and breed superbugs. This is called becoming resistant to the chemical. Then chemists have to make even deadlier poisons. A chemical such as DDT does not just disappear after it is sprayed. DDT sprayed on alfalfa shows up in cow's milk after the cow eats the alfalfa. Rain carries it into rivers and out into oceans, where it gets into fish, oysters, crabs, penguins, seals and other creatures. DDT sprayed in the United States ends up in Iceland, Japan, the Arctic, the Antarctic, everywhere. When Rachel finished Silent Spring in 1962, she cried with relief. All she wanted to do was rest. Her book shocked the whole world. The companies who made the insecticides were enraged. They fumed, Rachel Carson is just a nature mat. They made up lies about her and spent thousands and thousands of dollars trashing her on the radio and on TV and in newspapers and magazines. So Rachel couldn't just rest after all. She had to go on television to debate men from the government and big chemical companies. This was a hard thing for a shy person to do, especially since she was sick. She did it because she knew that TV would reach even more people than her book. Her voice was soft but firm. She knew exactly what she needed to say and how to say it. She warned, "People talk about conquering nature, but people are a part of nature. What we do to nature we do to ourselves." President John F. Kennedy read Silent Spring. He called for a special committee of top scientists to study the facts and decide who was right, Rachel Carson or her enemies. The committee announced that everything Rachel had written was true. Congress passed new laws to protect the environment. One law banned DDT in the United States. That saved eagles from extinction. People began to think about taking care of the earth. Rachel was awarded many medals, but she was too sick to go to all the places that wanted to honor her. One day she and Dorothy sat on a rocky cliff in Maine, watching monarch butterflies migrate to Mexico for the winter. They knew that those butterflies would not live to return to Maine, but their offspring would come. That was the natural life cycle of butterflies. Rachel thought about that later. She wrote, "Those fluttering bits of life taught me that it is a natural and not unhappy thing that a life comes to an end. I have deep happiness in knowing that." Soon after that she died. Rachel Carson will always be remembered for her courage in protecting the earth and for showing us how we are part of a wonderful web of